guys, Brooke here from The Vintage Gardener. Welcome to my channel. So I am really excited because this channel finally got 500 subscribers, and I'll be quite honest, it's amazing. I didn't think I was ever going to get to this point. I started this channel back in 2019, and it has been really slow growing, and quite frankly, it's been somewhat it was somewhat discouraging, especially because I started my channel at the same time some other YouTubers started their channels, and they have like far eclipsed anything that I've done, and they, some of them were getting like 10,000 subscribers in the first year. So I'm glad to be at 500, and here's the next 500 more. So typically people do something for their, at milestone subscribers. So I decided to do an About Me video. I haven't really done one before. I know I have kind of like an About Me video that I posted, back in 2019 when I started. But I don't even know if you can find it because I think I posted it on my blog. And so I'm just gonna do a kind of a new and updated one for everybody who's joined me because I think when I started this year, I had 200 some subscribers. So I've kind of just about, I think I've doubled how many subscribers I have now. So anyway, my name is Brooke, and I garden in Burlington County, New Jersey. That's winter hardiness zone 7A. The house where I garden, I named Wildflower Manor. It is a Victorian farmhouse that was built in 1840. And so it's on an acre. And so my goal is to, number one, restore the house to its former glory, and also put historic style gardens around the property. My goal is to turn like 90% of this acre into a garden. So what is this channel going to be about? Well, I started this channel for three primary reasons. The first is that currently I am an attorney. I'm a busy trial attorney. I mean, thankfully with COVID, the amount of cases I've tried has dramatically decreased, but I try a lot of cases. I'm tired, I'm getting burnt out. And I know I don't look that old. I'm actually 42. So I've been practicing law for like 17 years now. And I don't know how much longer I can do this. I know retirement is at 67 or whatever it'll be by the time I get there. And I think I'm going to be burnt out long before then. So obviously, like a lot of people, was thinking, what would I like to do? Gardening is one of my, I guess, 3 or 4 hobbies that I like to do. It takes up a lot of time, but I am one of those types of people that I like unique gardens. I think gardens should be as individual as the gardener itself. And so, but the thing is that most garden centers, and even if you go to, independent garden centers, they sell a lot of the same thing. So it's hard to kind of get something that's truly unique. I mean, you can do it because I certainly do it. I visit probably between 15 to 20 garden centers every year. In addition, since I moved into Wildflower Manor and now I have more space, I have been starting a lot of plants via seed. And so I have had some people who've asked, oh, hey, do you have extra seedlings? Can I buy them from you? Because you have such unusual stuff. And it was like, if these people are interested, I bet there's probably a lot of other people who might be interested. And so eventually I think I want to go into something a little bit more relaxing, like selling flowers. I mean, I know it's going to be a lot of work, but there's worse things than getting up every morning and planting seeds and fertilizing and checking for pests. There truly is. So that is my end goal. And so, because I do start things from seeds, a lot of things that I'm starting from seeds, I do that because you can't find them in the stores. Some of the stuff you can't even order online because nobody grows it. And so, in addition to the fact that I like having them in my garden, I'm trying to figure out, is it easy to grow? And also, how does it respond when it's in landscape? Because, one of the things with plants that you can only get if you grow by seed is that there's what's on the packet and what they actually do when you put them in the ground. And the perfect example of that are the Café Creme foxgloves that finally bloomed this year. If you guys watch some of my other videos, you will realize that on the packet they said 24 to 36 inches, and those bad boys are 5 feet tall. So it's just definitely been a learning experience. So I guess you say so primarily this channel is about, it's flower trials. Every year I do a review over several episodes on my podcast about, how the plants were, how they started from seed, how they reacted in the, reacted in the garden. Is it one of those types of things that they need, more water, less water? Because sometimes that stuff is inaccurate on the packs. Do they need less fertilizer, more fertilizer? So I kind of give it a review so I know what things would work. Thus far, I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and I'm looking forward to adding more seeds to the garden. Reason number 2, and I guess, I'm not putting these in necessarily in order. It's just the 3, general reasons I'm doing things. But the other thing is that this channel is a primer on gardening and how to create a garden. I am into historic garden design. If you look at my playlist, you'll see there's one called Parterre Garden. That is a historic style garden. I just like old-fashioned gardens. I like old-fashioned houses, which is why I bought a Victorian that was built in 1840. That's just what I do. But with gardening, one of the questions I get frequently is, where do I start? And then the other question I get almost as much is, where did I go wrong? So on this channel, I'm going to be providing a lot of information, a lot of science, because there is a lot of science in gardening, and it's kind of hard to know, especially like when people are wondering where they went wrong. It's kind of hard to know what went wrong if you don't actually understand the biological process that goes into even things like how fertilizers actually work with your plants. So I'm going to be giving you that kind of information. One of the ways that I do that is, of course, I do videos, but the other thing is that I have a podcast, which is called the Vintage Gardener Podcast, which is on Podbean and iTunes. And primarily on the podcast is where I'm giving you, going into depth with the scientific aspects of gardening. And even things like, for example, zoning issues. I ran into a zoning issue with something that I did in my garden. And so there's certain things that I cover with you on, like, if you're planting a garden, here's things you may need a permit for and things you can check, because there can be pitfalls in gardening. And a lot of times you don't think, like, you're like, of course I can just do, if I want to make a garden, I can just do that in my front yard. And some places you may be able to do that, but some places there are other considerations that have to be taken into consideration. With people who want to start a garden, when it comes to being having a successful garden, you can't garden by imitation. The only way to have a successful garden is to learn to garden where you live. And before I started this channel, when I was doing, research, trying to figure things out, I found blogs, I did find some gardening channels, but the one thing that was very frustrating is that because they grow in a different climate, and that's really the important thing, more so than the winter hardiness, is the climate. Because they're growing in different climates, a lot of the things that they were talking about were either, number one, just completely irrelevant, or number two, they were just totally inapplicable. And so I walked away with very little that I could actually use in my garden. When I first started gardening, I wasn't seeing a lot of New Jersey gardeners. I wasn't seeing a lot of regional gardens, like, for example, Pennsylvania, which is not that far away. Their winter's a little bit cooler, like slightly cooler, but in terms of climate, we're kind of similar. I wasn't finding any of that. And so that was one of the reasons that I started this channel. So although, you know, I'm dealing with New Jersey and New Jersey weather, New Jersey soil conditions and that sort of thing, I will be providing you just a lot of general information so that, and showing certain things I will be showing you how to do so that you can, you understand what you're looking at in your garden, and if you have to troubleshoot any issues, you know the process and the steps that you have to go through in order to figure that issue out. Gardening is very specific to your property. Even if you have properties that are located within, you know, a mile of each other, you're still going to have different temperatures, different water, different light, different daylight conditions, and that sort of thing, different pest issues, different fungal issues, different wildlife pressure. And so, you know, somebody, you know, I can't garden the way, for example, another YouTuber who lives probably 30 minutes away from me, Jen from Forever Blooms with Jennifer. I can't garden the way she does, and she has to do her gardening different from me because we have dramatically different soil conditions. And so I'm going to be giving you the tips and tricks so that you can succeed and you know how to succeed where you live, because that is how you have a successful garden, is gardening where you live. And last but not least, this channel is really just, it's amongst other things, it's also gardening journal. I am showing you step by step the process that I'm going to create the gardens, how I plan it, how I sketch it out, how I put in infrastructure such as irrigation. I don't do it myself. I hire somebody, but also electric, like I said, things like getting permits. I take you around as I'm just doing things on, like, you know, a day-to-day basis. I mean, I'm usually filming in my garden, like, you know, every day. I don't, although I do have sometimes special projects, it's not like a whole lot of camera setup. It's just a lot of times me putting up the camera and you just watching what I'm doing. So you can see step by step how you do it. And, you know, you do a little bit every day, and, you know, at the end of the seasons, like, you've made a huge change just by incremental steps. The other thing is that I am not a believer. I don't do gardening trends. Like I said, I think gardens should be unique. The other thing is that I personally do not like a static garden. I consider a static garden to be a garden where basically you put in plants that are multi-season. So basically the only thing that changes over the season is that you're watching these plants get bigger. I'm not a fan of that. I personally don't think it's that interesting to look at. I like to have a sequence of blooms. I think that your garden in April should look dramatically different from May, which is going to look different from June, which is going to look different from July, and so forth, and so on. I'm a big believer in succession plantings, and so you can have lots of different things blooming. So in order to do that, you have to have a lot of different types of plants, which I do. I have well over 100 cultivars. As a matter of fact, I think I probably at this point have like 200 different cultivars out in my garden this year. And that number that number is only going to go up. And of course, as you know, I'm human, like, I often forget what I planted. I do remember most of the names, but there are times where, especially, like, for example, if I plant something that takes a year to bloom, by the time that next year comes around, I'm like, oh shoot, well, I don't even remember what the name of it was. And then on top of that, sometimes, you know, due to your soil chemistry, the plants don't look the same as they did on the picture. And so it's just kind of like, oh wait, what did I plant in this area? So that I do have to go and look back at what I planted. So in addition to basically like step-by-step process of how I create my gardens, I do try different products. I do try different processes. If I see, somebody do something, I may feel like, oh, you know what, if I modify that, that might actually work for this. There's just a lot of experimentation. You're not going to see, as of right now, you're not going to see any paid promotions or that sort of thing. I typically don't do that. I am one of those types of people that I take everything with a grain of salt. And so, I mean, a lot of places think that their products are absolutely wonderful, but I like to try different things out till I find what I think gives me the best results. So if I'm giving you a recommendation for something, you know, it's usually because I've tested out like 3, 4, sometimes 6 products, and I'm really telling you this because this is what I found. I found to be, I found to be the best product, and so you know, I'm not on anybody's payroll. I'm not getting free product. I'm just giving you all the stuff that I'm testing out is stuff that I purchase with my hard-earned money. So if I'm giving you a recommendation, I get no benefit by giving you that opinion whatsoever. And of course, in part of the whole gardening thing is that even if you plant things, you have to maintain it. And so, you know, I'm showing you what works for my lifestyle. And as I said, I'm a busy attorney. So although I would like to be able to spend, you know, 8 hours a day in my garden, I can't do it. And so I try to do things that like minimize the amount of like weeding, but you know, and other types of work in the garden. And, you know, but I try to automate things as possible because, you know, for example, like watering, if I had to remember to water on my own, my plants would die. So I have irrigation. I've got, with drip tubing, I've got faucet timers that I can control with my phone. I'm trying to automate things. You know, I plant my plants close together so that it minimizes the amount of weeding that I have to do. And this year I definitely saw the benefit of that because I have had to do surprisingly really minuscule amounts of weeding considering the size of my garden. So that way, you know, if you're watching what I'm doing and you try some of the things on your own and you find that it works, it'll kind of set you up, because unfortunately sometimes you don't know about things until you kind of get into it, and at that point you realize, oh my gosh, this was the wrong thing to do. And sometimes, you know, you can cause yourself a lot more work than you really need to. So all of the stuff that I'm showing you, it's because you know, trial and a lot of error. I've made the mistakes. I've created additional problems for myself in the past. And so I'm doing it the way I'm doing it because this is what is creating the least amount of problems to save you having to do a lot of maintenance. Anyway, I just want to take time out to say a big thank you to everyone who subscribed. I do appreciate it. And I hope that you will stick around and you will become part of the community, and you will comment, and you know, if I have a live podcast, because I do that where it's a call-in show, hopefully you guys can, you know, actually come on and chat with me, and we can talk about your gardens, and we can, you know, talk about any issues that you may be having, and spread the word, and, you know, bring more people in. And if you are watching this and you have not subscribed, don't you think you should? We do have a lot of fun here, and I hope you guys can join me in the future. So guys, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and I will see you in 2 days with my next video, and I'll be back in my garden.